1. Chronic stress and emotional breakdown. Everyone needs solitude sometimes, but when isolation is forced and prolonged, it turns into psychological torment. At first, stress hormones surge. Over time, they don't drop. They stay elevated, damaging the body and brain. Emotionally, people may become overwhelmed by fear, sadness, or helplessness without even realizing it. They can't talk it out. They can't cry it out. And slowly, the silence becomes unbearable. What began as quiet becomes a loud, invisible pressure, crushing down every second. This is no longer solitude, it's captivity. 2. Brain damage and imbalance. Without meaningful interaction or mental stimulation, the brain starts to change. The prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for logic, planning, and moral judgment, begins to shrink. At the same time, the limbic system, which controls fear and emotional responses, becomes overactive. The result is a dangerous imbalance: less reason, more emotion. People in long-term isolation often lose focus, struggle to remember things, and become easily agitated or impulsive. Their mind no longer serves them, it traps them. 3. Loss of reality and identity. Breakdown: human identity is shaped in reflection through conversations, feedback, and shared experiences. But when you're alone for too long, that mirror disappears. People start doubting their own thoughts, hearing voices that aren't there, or seeing things that aren't real. Their sense of self becomes fragmented. They may no longer recognize who they are or who they used to be. Reality becomes unstable and their identity begins to dissolve like a face fading in a shattered mirror. 4. Physical decline. Insomnia, dizziness, weight loss. Isolation doesn't just harm the mind, it drains the body. People often suffer from insomnia, lying awake for hours staring into nothing. They lose track of time. Their hearts race, they feel dizzy, and food no longer tastes like anything. Many lose weight not from exercise but from anxiety and disinterest in eating. It's as if the body begins shutting down, trying to conserve energy, unsure when it will ever be free again. 5. Desperate attempts to cope. Some fight back, creating routines, doing push-ups in their tiny cell, reading if they're lucky enough to have books, or writing letters that may never be sent. These acts of discipline offer small moments of sanity, but they can't fully stop the creeping despair. Like weeds, loneliness wraps itself around their thoughts, no matter how hard they resist. It's like trying to swim while chained to the ocean floor. 6. Solitary confinement is torture. According to the UN and human rights organizations, prolonged solitary confinement is not just punishment, it's psychological torture. Locking someone in a small, windowless cell for 22 hours a day breaks more than their spirit. It erodes their humanity. Even without physical violence, the silence, the emptiness, the absence of time and touch, these elements create an invisible wound. It hurts and it lingers. 7. Solitary in the US. Minor actions, major consequences. In the US, solitary confinement isn't just used on violent criminals. People have been thrown into isolation for talking back to guards or violating minor prison rules. Cells are about 6 square meters, barely enough space to lie down. No window, no one to talk to. Just constant surveillance and silence. This system was meant to encourage reflection, but instead it punishes vulnerability and inflames suffering. 8. PTSD after release. Even after solitary ends, the trauma doesn't. Many former inmates describe leaving prison only to enter a new kind of cage inside their minds. They become hyper-alert, anxious in crowds, or afraid to speak up. Some have nightmares, emotional numbness, or paranoia. The shadow of solitary stays with them, shaping their personality and relationships for years, sometimes forever. 9. Isolated children. Stunted development. When children are isolated, whether in institutions, abusive homes, or locked facilities, the impact can be devastating. Without peers or caregivers to mirror, guide, or comfort them, their development stalls. They may stop speaking, lose interest in learning, or become emotionally flat. The classroom becomes a lonely stage where no one is watching and nothing feels real. Early isolation leaves invisible scars that follow them into adulthood. 10. A better way. Rehabilitation, not punishment. Some countries prove that there is another path. In Norway, for example, prisons focus on dignity education and reintegration. Fewer people go to prison and fewer return. Cells look like small apartments, not cages. Prisoners cook, learn, and work. And when they leave, they are ready to live, not just survive. The key insight: we heal better together than apart.